When does a joke stop being funny? Fuck you! Joke characters in fighting games are a beloved archetype. Even with competitive play being baked into so many fighting games, it's always important to step back and realize when you start taking something too seriously. Joke characters give people the chance to laugh along with their friends and enjoy some casual play with characters who were never intended to be good. Dan, Servbot, and Mocap are never going to win tournaments, but will give you some of the most fun you can get in a fighting game when you spend the whole match spamming moves to see who gets lucky enough to die last. However, sometimes the joke isn't on the character, it's on you for underestimating them. Every once in a while, developers will take a joke too far and make a joke character who also functions in normal play, usually making for some of the hardest and most confusing characters to fight in the game. Today, we're talking about very serious gag characters. You will read Perfect Origin! You will buy the Blu-rays! You will join the MGP2 Discord server! I'm trying out a new method to make Kinnikuman big in the West. How's it working? I will find as many excuses to talk about Muscle Grand Prix 2 as I can. It just happens it always has a character to cover the topic I want to talk about. Alright, time for best characters with variable block stun data because of glitching. I knew you had my back, soldier! Where joke characters are concerned, though, just try to pick them out of the lineup. I'm sure it'll take a minute. No, it's actually the walking toilet. This is Benki-Man. Introduced in the second Chojin Olympics arc, Benki-Man is a brutal Chojin who defeats his opponents with the dreaded Benki Flush, rolling them up into a ball before stuffing them inside of himself and flushing. You will f***ing cry when you find out what happens to him in Omega Centauri. Up until the Revival series, he was considered one of the premier gag characters alongside Canada Man and Special Man. This earned him a spot in MGP2 as the joke character. Benki-Man might seem unassuming at first glance, and then second glance, and then 18 glances in, you might realize you were just right the first time. Benki-Man's health and damage are tied for the lowest in the game with Pentagon and the Ninja. And while Pentagon is a decent mid-tier, and Ninja has a nice bright future, they at least have the excuse of this playing into their archetype. Pentagon and Ninja are speedsters. You control combat based on your movement and the ability to hit the opponent before they get to hit you. Benki-Man isn't exactly slow, but doesn't have the speed to justify such abysmal stats. His 12-frame jab actually puts him in good company near Ramen Man and Robin Mask, with only 2 frames separating him and the fastest jab in the game, Springman's 10-frame jab. Okay, you've landed the jab. Now what? Well, I'll just go for the natural combo, right? AAA should get something started. Benki-Man, you are a video game character. You can't get tired. Benki-Man uniquely gets worse as a character the worse you are as a player. If you mash his basic string too long, he'll enter a stun state that lasts 55 frames and does nothing. Okay, well, nothing is a bit harsh. You can cancel out of the stun state for a few different moves to get the drop on the opponent. But I feel like they're a lot more likely to get the drop on you when you leave yourself prone for 55 frames. You can actually activate this stunned state on its own with a reverse DP. This is because there is a very tiny portion of the brow wipe that has a hitbox that drains meter. The hitbox is so minuscule that if Benki-Man is as close to the opponent as he possibly can be, he'll still miss. The opponent has to be actively walking into Benki-Man as he's doing the move for it to land. It's possible off of a rope bounce if you really want to do it, but Benki-Man isn't hurting for meter drain options for you to have to rely on this. You know how else Benki-Man can drain meter off of a rope bounce? His throw. You know what else also drains meter off of a rope bounce? Every rope rebound grab in the game! Yes! Yes! If you want to extend the jab string, you can hold forward on the third hit, which lets you extend. But you can also get tired in the extension. This is far from Benki-Man's only bad move, with 4-4-A being a super slow low blow at 36 frames that the opponent can counter by doing less. The move is minus 18 on parry, but minus 24 on block. You get more out of countering the move by just holding back than you would do by parrying it. A few different Banky-Man moves share this property, and they're also all the moves you should avoid. The 4A string, 4A 6A, 236A is minus 40 on hit, minus 7 if you prayed today. There's a lot of Banky-Man moves that punish you for playing the game, and as a joke character, it makes sense. So, then tell me why exactly this fighting game character who's adverse to fighting is definitively better than quite a few other characters. Banky-Man has a lot of chaff to his kit. His move list reads like a minefield where you have to tiptoe around his terrible options to get to anything good. But there is good, and some of the things Banky-Man can do will have you second guessing if he's a joke or not. He still is, by the way. He has an instant kill where he shoves his fingers up your ass, and this works on the strongest characters in the setting. Top of the list of Banky-Man's strengths is, fittingly enough, that he is really goddamn weird. Banky-Man's hitboxes are very strange thanks to his unique body shape. Being very thin on the sides and being a lightweight character means he's actually a little hard to combo. Strings that would normally catch other characters drop when used on Banky-Man because the decrease in hurtbox size makes it harder to land. The weirdness extends to his moves, as even if a lot of them are bad, Banky still has access to some moves that shouldn't be taken lightly. Like I said, his jab is pretty good, and the string that follows it, if pulled off right, can do some decent damage on its own, before even throwing in any additional moves. Its speed and consistency also means it's great for stopping opponents who get too close to Banky-Man. And other far-reaching normals and specials mean Banky isn't bad at controlling space either. The string also benefits from never changing. All of the hits in the 5A string are the same, meaning you can cancel out of any of them in the exact same way every time. This creates a psychological game for Banky to play, where he's able to keep the string up or abort it at any time. And the pressure of what he's canceling into means the opponent has to think even harder. Also, there's an RNG element to the hits after the extension about whether or not they'll properly combo. This is the positives column, by the way. Banky-Man's 2A is unique for putting the opponents into heavy stun as opposed to medium, which most other 2As do. It's an OTG, has an extremely low profile making it hard to punish, actually just a great move. 214A is Banky-Man's secret weapon. He backs that thing up on you and it's too much to handle. 214A is the move that makes Banky-Man and is absolutely fantastic. Funny, considering Stickasay King has the exact same move on his 8A, but Banky-Man's is way better. The move is ridiculously quick, and with it being a flip, Banky is able to jump over a lot of attacks that might snuff it out. The move is an insane -1 on guard, meaning it can apply pressure like nobody's business, and has tons of use cases. If the opponent is blocking it while too close to the ropes, it will trigger a rope bounce, which auto-breaks their guard. It makes Banky-Man's approach super safe. Its weird hitboxes means counters to it will often whiff. It can be reversed if you move too far past the opponent and lets you apply pressure from behind. It's an OTG tool. It can even cancel part of its ending lag into a block. Hell, that cancel into block makes 214A plus on block, which means Banky is able to keep up the pressure and decide what happens next. You'll often see it used alongside Banky-Man's surprisingly good specials, especially 46S, which is your big damage payoff for Banky-Man. You can tell it's his because it doesn't do that much damage. Soberingly as well, and I wish this wasn't true, but it definitely is, Banky-Man has some pretty good projectiles. Dude, on Planet Man, I'm never showing my face in public again. It's not tornado hell, but Banky-Man's projectiles do end up coming out as some of the best in the game. Now, Banky-Man's projectiles are a little hard to wrap your head around at first. Imagine something about Banky-Man being obtuse and weird. The best application of 236S isn't as a traditional zoning tool. It's fine for that, but not the best. Where it's really good is at short range. 236S becomes an amazing tool for messing with people who try to get too close to Banky-Man. If your long normals and specials don't do the trick, throw out this unblockable, meter-draining, heavy-stun projectile that they'll have no reaction time for. Knowing that this is a tool Banky-Man has access to is going to make the opponent parry a lot more often than they would guard against grabs, which means that now Banky-Man is free for his damaging supers and regular throws. All of these come together to make a character who excels at getting under your skin. He's hard to hit with his weird hitboxes and evasive moves. His game plan is consistent and predictable with how few good moves he has, but still leaves room for surprises like canceling out of the jab string or canceling out of the exhaustion state. Every couple of seconds when Banky-Man charges, you have to deal with the opponent cranking their hog in your face. Everything about Banky-Man is meant to frustrate you, and that frustration leads to sloppy play, which Banky-Man is betting on. In fact, and this is definitely giving him too much credit, Banky-Man actually makes you play better at the game. His game plan is a simple, fundamentals-based one, needing you to play your ass off to shore up his weaknesses and take advantage of what he does best. You're not going to have any games given to you as Banky-Man, and by playing as him, you polish the core aspects of the game that are going to translate to the truly great characters. I won't say you're going to be able to play Zebra after putting in time as Banky-Man, but after playing as him for a while, I really do feel like I'm getting better at the game. For as much as I like playing him, though, yeah, he's still not very good. All the weaknesses I mentioned before are very much still problems for Banky-Man, and this dream game where you get to play as Banky and punish an opponent you aggravated into playing poorly is going to happen between multiple games where you get mugged, because you're just playing a worse character than most. Despite all of that, though, Banky-Man is a super fun character to play, and is a great example for what a good gag character can be. You'll struggle playing with him, but when he can do what he does well, you're gonna feel amazing. Call me Banky-Man the way I'm shitting on him. Wait, I'm the toilet. No! Getting away from a specific anime and more into the genre of anime fighters, I got a question for y'all. Who here likes fighting games? Alright. And who here likes pornography? Oh, okay. I have the game for you. Big Bang Beat Revolve is a fighting game based on the game Daibancho Big Bang Age by Alicesoft, an eroge strategy game released in December of 2003. Oh god, I'm about to burst! Ah yeah, dude, I love Guilty Gear. Big Bang Age's setup is really close to your typical insane fighting game story, with a giant demon hole appearing in the middle of Japan and imbuing young people with powers. By the time of Big Bang Age, there are sky pirates, holy knights, ninjas, and the responsibility of taking care of them falls to the local student government. Revolve takes the characters of Big Bang Age and places them into fighting game archetypes that fit their personalities, like the headstrong Daigo Hota becoming a rushdown menace, or the massive Sanzo Kongamaru becoming the game's grappler and bottom 3 in the game, filling the archetype. It controls similarly to an Arc Systems game, with 3 buttons and a unique action button, with your kit being helped along by air dashes, bursts, and a super state. Those unique button moves and the mechanics each character gets are also extremely creative, some of the most cool character ideas I've ever seen in a fighting game. The Nakanishi sisters are primarily just older sister Kendo, but her younger sister acts as a background character who can fire arrows from off-screen to open the opponent up. Daigo, like I mentioned, is Rushdown Supreme, and uses a unique Dragonstalk resource to power up his specials as long as he can keep hitting them. The coolest of all, though, has to be Agido the Dark One. He's a set-play character who leaves traps all around the screen in the form of his knives, even having a counter above his super meter to keep track of how many he has out. You have specials and supers dedicated to missing shots to set up knives around the screen to turn into traps. His Big Bang mode has him dropping almost half the max amount of knives he's allowed to have out. The game is a lot of fun, and if you have any love for Arc System style anime fighters, it's worth checking out. Available via a download on the Mizumi page. As for the joke character though, while all the characters in the game are playable in Big Bang Age, there's one spot saved for a non-player character, the enemy Monbo. Monbo is a sunfish that acts as a fodder enemy in Big Bang Age, that as a joke was included in Revolve as the joke character. That's what you'd guess by looking at them. Monbo is a ridiculous looking character, a sunfish whose expression never changes and who uses the same animation for about half of their moves. The only people who didn't get told that Monbo was a joke character, though, were the developers. Despite definitely being the joke character, sharing that spot with Alicesoft's mascot Honey, Monbo is a seriously viable character. First off is a trend for joke characters: their size. Monbo is smaller than most of the cast. Even with their big fins, Monbo has a nasty habit of dodging damage, either in neutral or in combo simply because the opponent misses them. At 10,000 health, Monbo is tied for the lowest health in the game, and this is a huge problem. Survivability on Monbo is pretty bad. Monbo also struggles with combos. There are some easy enough to pull off strings, but usually Monbo's combo damage caps out around 2,000. Respectable, but when characters like Burai, Roga, and Heita can do well above that before meter, Monbo is better off just not trying to compete. Okay, so what does Monbo do well? A lot, actually. Monbo's normals are deceptively really strong, with C having a really good range to it and decent damage, easily strung together with 2C to take out a nice chunk of health. 6B is a move I used a lot when playing Monbo. It's a sliding low that slips under a lot of attacks and can be cancelled into another move or super, setting up for some of Monbo's stronger combos. On the special front, Monbo has a water ball that arcs at different heights depending on the button, and a water pillar whose distance is handled in the same way. Both of these moves are a little dangerous to use since they come with a lot of startup, but they're also pretty unique as easily spammable ranged options that don't tie themselves to a resource. In fact, Monbo is unique for lacking a super robust gimmick. All in all, they're very basic with what they can do, but again, Monbo does it surprisingly well. Using their longer than average normals, you're able to keep the opponent at a distance. And if that distance becomes too great, use Water Ball or Water Pillar to punish them. Then when they try to get too close, use the Heavy Water Ball or Light Pillar to punish them again, depending on if they attack from the ground or the air. Those varying arc heights of the Water Ball and Water Pillar especially make getting in on Monbo from the sky really difficult. He's a really good anti-air character all things considered, since the C options in the air are also very strong. When they finally get into the position you want, go for his combos or, admittedly just alright, Super Water Pillar. Or if you want to get bold, try sliding in with 6B and get the opponent from an angle they're not expecting. Of course, it's not just bread and butter for Monbo, because they do have a few very weird tools. Monbo's unique button has them laying an egg, which after a second hatches into a smaller Monbo that will float, shoot out a water ball, and disappear. On the surface, not super exciting. But once you realize that this second Monbo acts totally independent of you and will fire off its shot no matter what, it becomes a lot stronger. Suddenly, if Monbo is in pressure, you're able to quickly lay an egg and gamble with it. Maybe you'll get comboed, and then the Monbo you spawned in will knock the opponent out of it and let you regroup. Maybe whenever you have a moment, just tap D and keep a little insurance policy floating around you, especially since you can program it for a light or heavy shot depending on if you're in the air or not. And then there's Big Bang mode. At the cost of 3 bars of super and tapping A, B, and C, Monbo floods the entire stage with water. The water slows down the opponent for 7 seconds and leaves Monbo at normal speeds. Could be hyperbole, but this is one of the best Big Bang modes in the entire game. The advantage this gives Monbo is fantastic. You get to pull off combos you would never be able to in normal gameplay thanks to the opponent's decreased fall speed, while the opponent now has to deal with a huge delay on their inputs, meaning that unless Manbo pops Big Bang at the worst possible time, the opponent can't really do anything. This is also where Manbo's biggest damage is possible. Just spamming C and 2C over and over and ending out with his Ultra, Manbo is able to deal near fatal damage. If he hits you at any point before or after the old Manbo Mambo, you're gonna die. Packaging all this together, and Manbo comes out as a decent top tier or a great mid tier depending on the tier list you follow. After playing through arcade mode with him, an arcade mode with extremely unfair AI on some opponents, especially the final boss, I found Manbo to be a lot of fun. Once you realize you're not playing the flashiest character in the world, and play them like the fundamentals-based zoner that they are, you're going to appreciate a lot of what Manbo brings to the table. And, joke or not, take them as a serious member of the cast. The joke is on you if you try to beat Kamui, the final boss. You don't have SNK boss syndrome, you're just a dick. Speaking of SNK boss syndrome, what happens when you mix the inherent overpowered nature of a boss character with the underpowered nature of a joke character? Joke bosses are one of the rarest types of fighting game characters, but it's not an unpopulated niche. Digimon Rumble Arena 2 punishes you for picking the easy path during arcade mode by swapping out the usual bosses of Omnimon or Diaboromon with Nemon, whose special move is falling on a banana peel. One game dared to have a bit more of a balance between the two, and that was Bloody Roar Primal Fury. Bloody Roar is one of those fighting games that has always just fallen outside of my field of knowledge. I know of it, but if you asked me to give you anything more than a basic overview, I couldn't do it. Bloody Roar is the original series of insane fighting game factory Aiding, responsible for Kamen Rider Super Climax Heroes, and by proxy, my countdown to being forced to watch a Kamen Rider series. This justifies putting Skull in again, right? While the majority of their output was licensed games for anime franchises, Bloody Roar was their own creation, in collaboration with Hudson Soft of Bomberman fame. Bloody Roar is a series of 3D fighters in the vein of Tekken and Soul Calibur with ring-outs and fluid combos, with the addition of more emphasized air combos and the Beast Morph system. The world of Bloody Roar is inhabited by humans with the ability to morph into animals called zoanthropes, which allows them to temporarily become anthropomorphic fighting machines. Bloody Roar Primal Fury, or Extreme as it's called in Japan, is the fourth entry in the series and is considered an alternate timeline from the numbered Bloody Roar games, as its plot is a largely self-contained story about a zoanthrope tournament in a new zoanthrope-friendly nation. Gameplay-wise, and I'm only speaking on Primal Fury as it's the only one I've played, but this game is a lot of fun. Bloody Roar is much more demure compared to the craziness you get in other Aiding games, and while it's still possible to do crazy stuff, it's also much more like traditional 3D fighters. It comes with a lot of mechanical depth in the offensive and defensive options you get. The game is easy on the surface, since rarely are you busting out more than a quarter circle forward or back, but the moves you get are full of use cases, and the characters all feel and play distinctively. This is all before the actual gimmick of Bloody Roar, the Beast Morphs. What, is this game made for furries? Yes! So who is it we're talking about? Well, like I said, the joke character in this game is one of the boss characters, Kronos. Kronos is the son of the king holding the tournament, a zoanthrope who's dedicated himself to protecting the less fortunate members of his species. His father, though, has been conducting unsafe, unethical experiments to turn people into zoanthropes, and Kronos is one of the casualties, being made the final boss of the tournament to test how his implanted zoanthrope gene is holding up. When you first fight Kronos, it'll be hard to tell what about him is a joke. In his human form, he has an overall very well-rounded moveset. Like every other character here, weirdly enough, his strengths come from far-reaching normals and tools that let him control space. Thanks to his lanky limbs, Kronos has normals and command normals that do a great job at keeping him at a safe distance. as well as specials that complement them nicely. A dashing multi-hit move that crosses the opponent up, and a super jump to disorient them and reposition yourself leaves the opponent open for strong, consistent combos, complementing decent damage and great speed. His fighting style is also very balletic, mixing in spins, leaps, ducks, and dodges. This makes hitting Kronos a difficult task, as while you leave yourself open to try to hit Kronos, he's able to dodge and counter-hit in the same motion. This also gives him OTG options and Oki thanks to delayed stronger attacks like quarter circle back kick. Laid out like that, and Kronos is already a strong character, and it can only get better with Beast Morph. I've talked about it enough, so let's discuss what a Beast Morph actually is. Instead of a traditional special meter, Bloody Roar gives you a beast meter that slowly fills over the course of a match. When it's filled up, you're able to transform into your beast mode, which comes with a load of benefits. You get access to beast attacks instead of just punches and kicks, which majorly increases your combo potential, and gives you access to Beast Morph exclusive moves and combos. Your attacks deal more damage, and your opponent's attacks deal less damage, unless they're also beast morphed. You can recover red health. Moves that didn't cancel before now do. You get access to your flashy level 3s. Beast morphing is a strong tool that you have to remember you have access to because they change the flow of a match majorly. So then, by virtue of being a boss character and already being great without the beast buffs, Kronos has to be a demon in Beast Morph. Let's see what we got! Just fuck my stupid life. So, for his Beast Morph, Kronos transforms into a penguin. Not a buff penguin, not even an anthropomorphic penguin, a normal rockhopper penguin. He's the only character in the game who adheres to realism, as he's stuck waddling around and squawking with only a snazzy coat keeping him from being able to hide out in a zoo. Immediately, a lot of the advantages of playing Kronos are completely negated. Kronos' long limbs that contributed to his great range and normals are replaced with stubby flippers and no knees. That super jump becomes useless, as all he can do now is look the opponent in the eye before flopping down to the ground uselessly. It takes a character who used to be able to choose his fights, and now forces him to run up to the opponent, eyes full of wonder, before getting smacked in the face and sent across the stage. And while Kronos is definitely worse off in his beast morphed form than he is in his normal one, it's not as bad as it looks on the outside. The biggest advantage, another one that all three of these characters share, is his weird size. Being the size of an actual penguin means that a lot of moves don't work on Kronos since they sail right over his head. He's immune to most high and mid attacks in the game without being launched into them, and that makes his lame duck range less of a problem. The key to victory actually is running up to the opponent and banking on their ingrained game knowledge failing them. They try to attack, but most of the attacks they start with don't affect Kronos. Being able to randomly change your height means the opponent is never going to know where to hit, and gives Kronos the ability to open the opponent up with all the benefits of a beast morph. He may be small, and his damage isn't groundbreaking, but it has increased. He's recovering health. He's using even more moves you haven't seen until now. Those additional moves are really good too. His new basic combo deals great damage for his size. He gets even better OTG options, and of course access to an amazing super move. He rides the opponent like a surfboard around the walls of the stage before crashing down in the center. And this is maybe the only time I've ever seen a stage-dependent super in a 3D fighter. There's a little RNG, I think, involved with how many walls he'll ride along, but he usually hits at least 2. And depending on the stage you pick and how long the walls are, it can deal unreasonably high damage for being a normal goddamn penguin. Penguin Kronos' moves complement normal Kronos' so well that you're able to win games just with these two. You never actually see the punchline to this joke character. Bloody Roar Primal Fury introduces a brand new option to the game, Extreme Beast Mode. Extreme Beast Mode is a special transformation that jacks up the stat increase of Beast Mode even higher, on top of making moves combo even easier and freezing the timer while it's active. The consequence is that the lower your meter is when you use it, the more health it eats to make up the difference. It's a really neat system that makes for do-or-die comebacks when you're close to losing a match. Kronos has access to Extreme Beast Morphing, and it's where everything comes together. Remember how I said Kronos is a zoanthrope, and how he had it implanted in him by his father? Well, those are two distinct events. Kronos was born with a beast morph, and then had a second one implanted by his father. The penguin is his natural zoanthrope, while going into Extreme Beast Morph unleashes the one his father implanted. Using Extreme Beast Morph turns Kronos from penguin to phoenix. This form reverts Kronos back to his original height, which means you have access to all of his original moves with their original ranges, now juiced up by 2 Beast Morphs. Kronos' Beast Button attacks also get crazy strong, with wing beats and fire barriers that give him even more stuff to do than he had before. This is on top of an extreme version of his super move that doubles the damage and almost guarantees a knockout if you've hit the opponent at any point previous in the round. This is where the joke of Kronos is completed. You start the fight wondering what the boss's beast morph is gonna be, only to be met with a harmless penguin. Then the penguin kicks your ass. Then you find out the penguin was taking it easy on you. It's a hilarious take on what a joke character can be, and it's wrapped up in a character that balances comedy with viability. The weaknesses of the penguin form are enough to keep Kronos from getting banned in competitive play, like the super boss Uranus, who is absolutely not a joke. Being a legal boss character makes Kronos the best character in the game, and he does it all while being a penguin for most of the match. Kronos is the gold standard for joke characters in fighting games, and I really don't think anybody else comes close.